Hey, if you're listening, if you're just chiming in, this is David McGuire with Shark Stewards. We're doing our Ocean Action Series live on Facebook. This is number 9 on Hope for the Coral Triangle and diving and documenting with my friend Aaron, aka Bertie, Gekoski. He's probably got other pseudonyms. Amazing documentarian, a brave photographer, a champion for wildlife. So thanks so much, Bertie. So great to see you well and sharing and championing your work.
Thanks, David. Thanks for inviting me to chat to you today. Sorry, just waking up here as well. Got my coffee, so just excuse the slight bleary eyes here.
So you're a conservationist, you're a photographer, you work in environmental activism. But you're really, you've been a host for the Timor Leste, Borneo from below, and Indonesia from below. But I think I first know of you as a wildlife photographer in Africa. And I guess I wanted to ask what brought you to Asia?
Yeah, I've been working in Africa for 5 or 6 years, working as a conservation photographer. Mainly specializing in human-animal conflict, so looking at some of the issues like shark finning, seal culling, tortoise poaching, all of the fun subjects. And then I got approached by Simon Christopher of Scuba Zoo, who told me that they were setting up a new online channel in Borneo called Scuba Zoo TV. And he said that he'd seen some of my work. I also did some work in front of the camera, and asked whether I would like to come and host some series. And I was at a kind of crossroads in my life, and he told me about some of the issues that wildlife was facing out in Sabah, and some of the people who were working to try and save wildlife there. So I went and I moved to Borneo, and then I presented series for about 4 or 5 years. On Scuba Zoo TV, we did, as you said, we did an underwater series called From Below. And then we did a couple of terrestrial shows, Borneo Wildlife Warriors, Borneo Jungle Diaries, looking at the work of the Wildlife Rescue Unit in Sabah. And also the other one looked at the work of the researchers and the scientists who were working in the jungles to try and use science to help with conservation efforts there. So then I actually stopped working for them a few years ago, and recently I've been back to the kind of gnarly photojournalism work, working a lot with different NGOs, working with magazines and news outlets, and using the power of the media to try and raise awareness for some conservation issues. I particularly focused on the wildlife tourism industry, as well as the exotic pet trade. Working on some big campaigns with the likes of World Animal Protection, Born Free Foundation, and some of the other NGOs. So yeah, it's been a wild ride for the last 10 years, working on some exciting but also some very full-on projects. If anyone wants to know more, then my website is a good place to start, aarongekoski.com, and also Instagram, Aaron Gekoski. So yeah, that was it. Sorry, that was probably a bit of a more long-winded answer than you were after.
No, it's great. I mean, it's fascinating, your path, and you obviously are passionate and committed. So tell me what the reefs were like. What year did you arrive in Sabah, and can you sort of share what the diving was like then and what it's like, when you left?
The diving in Sabah is incredible. You have, of course, Sipadan, which is always referred to as one of the world's best dive sites, which is very well protected, and the one place on Earth where you can go and you can guarantee dozens of sharks and turtles every dive and huge schools of fish. It is a little bit of a anomaly, I would say, though, in Sabah, because it's this one little hotspot, but elsewhere, like everywhere on the planet, it's been quite overfished. So if you were going to dive in the area, that is really the main place to do it. If you go further down the coast and you go into Kalimantan, then there's the Derawan Archipelago in Indonesia, which is also absolutely phenomenal diving. the world's largest jellyfish lake, mantas, whale sharks, best coral reefs I think I've ever seen apart from Raja Ampat. So that coast there does have some really spectacular diving opportunities. You can also dive in Sabah in KK, which is quite unusual. You know, the capital city, big sprawling city, and there's still decent diving there. But really, people go to Sabah for Sipida.
Yeah, and some people go to Sabah to eat pangolin and sun bear, huh?
Yes, yeah. There's also massive conservation concerns in Sabah, and the jungles there have been completely decimated, particularly for the palm oil industry. But yes, there's still a lot of poaching going on. There's sun bears that are killed for their paws for traditional medicine. There's pangolins killed for their meat and for their scales. There's elephants that are being killed simply because they're being found in plantations and they ruin crops, so the farmers will kill them. So yeah, there's big conservation challenges there. There are everywhere on the planet. Sabah is not alone in facing these issues, but thankfully there are people who are working and dedicating their lives to try and mitigate some of these problems. And that's some of the people we've shone a light on in our series.
There are some great people like Wang with the Borneo Sun Bear Center, and Leaf has done a lot of work in forest protection, and there is a bit of hope in Sabah. It certainly is beautiful, and there's so much to protect, and it's so important. So moving on from Sabah, how did you get to Timor Leste, and tell us your experiences there?
So after working on Borneo from below and Indonesia from below, I think we did maybe like 50 episodes from those two destinations. Simon struck up a deal with the Timor-Leste government, and because Timor-Leste is one of those places that's really not, it's not on the diving map, really. There are a few dive operators, but people didn't know about it, certainly before we went there, really, or we didn't register with divers. Yet when we went and we spoke to the people who were operating there and we spoke to the government officials, actually Timor-Leste is a place where you can go and in a single day, if you have a good day, you can see resident dugong, you can see migrating blue whales, you can see resident sperm whales, superpods of dolphins, like 1,000 thick. You've got the world's most biodiverse reefs at Toro Island, and you have very few tourists. So you have this little kind of dive utopia. And as divers, like one of the things that we want to go to places that feel like you're kind of a pioneer, and you're not exactly, because there are dive operators there and people do know about it, but it is still a bit of a secret. And you can genuinely go out on a boat on the ocean and you're the only boat out there and you're choosing between like blue whales on your port side and sperm whales on starboard side. So it's yeah, so we got some funding to do a series. We did a 10-part show called Timor-Leste from Below, and looking at not just the animals but also the culture, the people, and it aired a couple of years ago now, and since then it's definitely Timor-Leste has become a more popular destination. People have been leading trips there. I'm leading trips as well with insider divers to go and see blue whales when they migrate in November time. And you can see when I go back there every year, and you can see that more and more people are starting to hear about Timor-Leste, and they're starting to see why it's such a special place.
Yeah, it definitely feels like the wild, wild west. And the country's certainly gone through a history of pain and turmoil. But I found there were some really amazing dive operators, and the people on the ground are passionate, and the country definitely needs help to protect that biodiversity. Especially now with COVID, they're going to be suffering from the lack of tourism, and that's something I've been talking about. Well, we were going to lead a trip, scientists and videographers from America, and trying to bring in some money to help the local economy. Well, let's hope with this upcoming Hope Spot. We're going to be talking to Simon Christopher next and show the intro, which I really love, Timor Leste from Below. I have to hand it to you. You're having worked with you. You're good at improv. You're good at alliteration. You're a clever script writer.
And bad puns.
And so next, if people are just tuning in, this is the Live Like a Shark Ocean Action Series with Aaron Gekoski, amazing conservation wildlife photographer. We're going to see Timor Leste from below and then talk to Simon Christopher. And I hope that we're going to get out there, a big blue hope for us to go diving with wildlife and protect sharks and whales and sea turtles and reefs in November when everything gets normal again. Right, Aaron?
Oh, we're going to, yeah, as soon as we can, we're going to be there and get out on the ocean and go and see some blue whales.
Okay, well, fingers crossed. Stay healthy in the interim. And
thank you, David.
I'll see you in Bali on the way, and then we'll head over socially distanced, maybe on a boat. That'd be better.
Yeah. Yes, 2 meters apart from the blue whale.
All right. Well, thanks again, Bertie. Love talking to you.
Thank you. Thanks, David. Yeah, great to chat. Thanks for the time this morning.
Keep up the good work.
Yes.
Bye. So we've got Simon Christopher with us from Borneo live, 3 a.m. in the morning, 3:05 now. He'll be joining us in about 10 minutes. And now we're going to talk a little bit about the Coral Triangle. But Shark Stewards is a nonprofit project of the Earth Island Institute based in Berkeley. We work in conservation, education, and apply both towards advocacy and policy. Saving sharks from the shark fin trade and overfishing, but also protecting critical marine habitat and celebrating the ocean and sharks like we are today for World Oceans Day, June 8th. We've got some great hope. We've got some real positive action. We've got some wonderful champions, and we've got a great announcement that will be kicking off today, and then with Simon, with Blue Hope, with Adex online, we're going to have Simon will tell us how many days of ocean action, conversation, education, fun online, and we'll have Dr. Sylvia Earle and other luminaries, and Simon will tell you about that. So this has been 3 months of sheltering in place, and I've finally broken out. I went scuba diving at the Farallon Islands, and now I'm in Southern California. This is our first from the field live webinar, not a webinar, Ocean Action. And now we're going to go to the Coral Triangle. And I hope later in November with Simon, we're going to be celebrating the ocean and this new hope spot in Timor Leste, protecting the most diverse marine ecosystems on the planet. And you'll see some images of how wonderful it is and why it's so important. So thanks for joining us on Facebook Live. These are all on YouTube on our Shark Stewards channel. If you want to tune into some of our other issues on shark biology, taxonomy, diversity, diving with sharks, ecotourism, and we hope to continue doing these throughout the year live from the field and continue this momentum of hope for sharks. Now we're going to move next to speak with our friend Simon Christopher, the founder of Scuba Zoo and now Blue Hope, Timor Blue, a lot of blues in there, a lot of sharks. And we're going to talk about the Coral Triangle starting over here sort of towards the upper left, Malaysia and Borneo, where Simon is now. And then also down at the bottom there, just above Australia in Timor Leste, and looking at conservation in the Coral Triangle and celebrating hope and conservation during World Oceans Day and beyond. So there's Simon. I think you're unmuted. Can you hear me, Simon?
I can. Hi, David. How are you?
Okay, I hear you. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for getting up in the middle of the night. It's 3:20 in Borneo and Sabah, and you're a hardworking man. You've been really hustling. We've had late night Zoom every night, working together, and with all of the energy that you bring for ocean conservation and great storytelling. So thanks for joining, and thanks for what you're doing. I'm excited to share some of the developments that you and I have worked on together, starting in 2013, and now moving from Borneo to Timor Leste. And we've got a great celebration coming up for World Oceans Day, and I think some real progress, some real change we're going to make, not only in the Coral Triangle, but in the rest of the world ocean. So, you know, one of the things I'm interested in is, how did you come from the UK to stumble upon the shores of Sabah and end up staying for 30 more years, or what? How many?
Yeah, it's 25, 26 years now. I did marine zoology university, and I went to London and sold telephone systems for my sins for a while, and luckily I didn't buy a house or get married, and so I made the break and I went in search of the best diving, and very quickly gravitated to Siparan in Malaysia, and fell in love with divings on the way in Thailand and Philippines, and then I went to South Africa to dive with sharks, great whites, and then I headed to Australia, and I did a year of filming. I got into underwater filming in Australia, and as soon as I picked up a camera, I knew that was what I wanted to do. So I went back to Siparan and set up Scuba Zoo, and that was in '95. So we built Scuba Zoo up to about 22 people, was involved in about 200 hours of programming, Nat Geo, Discovery, Blue Planet 2, and then we set up our own channel, so scubazoo.tv. Slightly frustrated by the fact that no one quite told the story how you thought it should be told, particularly there were our stories, or we were contributing these ideas. So we set up scubazoo.tv and did probably over about 100 programs, and it was great, but it was very hard to keep going because we were just using the will of our local friends and connections, and we kind of ran out of steam. But I'm very excited about the new organization I'm involved with, which is called Blue Hope, and very much says what it does on the tin. This post COVID era we're in, and we're looking to re-engage with ocean and aspire and kickstart a new movement to get people focused on marine biodiversity and the importance of nature, and live more sustainably as we all come out of our hibernations. We've had an incredible nature shock with COVID, and it's time to look at the remaining biodiversity we have, protect it, engage with it, and live in a more harmonious way with it. And so Blue Hope is essentially the mechanism by which we're going to do that. And we have some very exciting education and awareness pieces, which we're bringing into the Coral Triangle, starting off with the Malay version, which we're doing with a local talent celebrity called Maya Karin. We'll be launching that in Malay, and it's already planned to go out to 10,000 schools around Malaysia. So it's going to create a really big difference, creating a new type of plastic intelligence among 10 to 15-year-olds. We're starting off with a sort of activity where kids essentially do a stock take of the plastic that when they're locked down at home, they look at the plastic, they see what color it is, and where it's a little mini experiment, and it gets kids interested and involved. And then we link to films, Plastic Oceans films with Sir David Attenborough, Our Ocean, What is Plastic, and Plastic Pollution. and very excited about rolling this out across the Coral Triangle in different language versions, and it's going to really make a difference pretty quickly. So it's the kids. It's all about kids, the youth movement, a big youth movement, and with David Attenborough and Sylvia Earle, the two absolute legends. Essentially, they're passing the baton, if you like, to the younger generation, and so we're kickstarting this movement here in the Coral Triangle, which is really the most important piece of real estate on the planet. There's more biodiversity, and it's 3 or 4% than the rest of the planet combined. So it's a very, very important movement, and I'm very excited about it.
Right, great. Well, I pulled off the Blue Hope website, this worksheet that you're talking about, and it looks like it's already in 4 languages, or 5, including Mandarin, which is important, and also English. So we're going to use this on World Oceans Day with our kids, because it's actually what we already do, beach cleanups, and actually quantify it, look at the items, segregate them, and record them, and take photographs. And it's a really great hands-on way that kids can get involved with the solution, learn about the problems facing the ocean, including wildlife, fish, and humans, through plastic pollution, but getting them involved with the solutions in a really fun and actually creative and scientific way. So this is a great worksheet. I'm going to stop sharing. I encourage people to go to the bluehope.com website.
.org, actually, .org.
Yeah. .org, sorry, of course,
yeah,
nonprofit.
Yeah.
Where are you? Google Chrome, here we go. Share that. We'll go to this pretty new website too, right? I'm going to get out of the Mandarin version.
So we're doing a version in we're going to be doing about 10 language versions over the next few weeks. And I think the most exciting thing is that we're very close to launching. This is the backdrop, is that the Malaysian government are working with the British High Commission, are going to be starting a Malaysia Plastic Pact. And this is the first plastic pact in Asia, where essentially NGOs, government, and private organizations work together and address and rethink plastic. And I think probably the biggest game changer of all is going to be the fact that there is a new type of app coming out where people can use, when you use plastic, you take a picture of it, you send it to a website, and once you get a certain amount of plastic, someone will ring you and come and collect your plastic and pay you money for it. So we're going to go from the point where single-use plastic was no value, and so people threw them away, but no one really thought about where is a way, to a scenario where plastic is worth something to everyone. So kids walking past plastic every day to school, they won't be walking past it now. If they see it, it'll be like walking past a 1 ringgit bill or whatever. It's money and it's food, and that's a big changer once you can actually create value. So it's really real tangible value, and that's going to make a very, very big difference.
Great. And you look like you've got not only World Oceans Day, which is Monday here, June 8th, but we're going to be a day ahead of you, celebrating Coral Triangle Day the next day, I believe, with Dr. Earle. And June 10th, Innovations for a Circular Plastics Economy, which is kind of what you were just talking about in part. And 11th, Ocean Odyssey 101 and Scuba 101 on the 12th. I mean, this is quite a lineup of great online ocean events. You want to talk about kind of the whole package of what you're doing next week?
Sure. So as you say, it's 5 days. It was going to be, the whole thing started with World Ocean Day, and then they said, well, okay, Simon, what's it going to look like? And I said, well, why don't we do a whole week? And so World Ocean Day is obviously the big one, celebrating the oceans, and then Coral Triangle Day is the day after it. It's focusing on that most important piece of real estate, as I say, the most biodiverse place on the planet. And Dr. Sylvia Earle is launching the Timor Leste Hope Spot, which David and I were very heavily involved with at the beginning, working with ATMCL, the Tourism Association in Timor Leste, at the same time. So it's a very frontier location And so all these things have just started, whereas other countries like Malaysia, you know, they've been going 20, 30 years, and it really is the most incredible location where you still have hundreds of blue whales swimming past the capital city, dugongs living next to the, you know, frequently swimming past the international airport. So it's I see Timor Leste is really the last frontier, microcosm for the Western world to really cherish and appreciate. And so that's a big day on Coral Triangle Day. It's really what I've been doing for the last 25 years, is celebrating that and championing it and trying to protect it. The third day, Plastic Innovation Day, is essentially looking at solutions to plastic. There are new technologies coming out where they don't use fire, they use water. And one of the projects in Timor Leste is looking to introduce this technology called CATS HDR technology, which essentially brings added value at scale to all types of plastic. So all the main recycling locations and technologies revolve around pyrolysis, which is fire, and this new technology uses water. So it's non-toxic, it has a very low carbon footprint, and it can be done at scale, and it turns just about every plastic back into the original oils or products that were used to make it. And so it's very groundbreaking, it's very exciting, and it's a way forward, and it's the first proper solution. It's taken about a year to get it going here in Asia, and it's about to start. So very exciting time for Malaysia, very exciting time for Asia. And then we have a youth day, which is basically youth universities from Beijing, all talking, sharing, and caring. Youth is the way is the future, obviously, future leaders of the planet. But the reality is that adults are pretty set in their ways now. You know, they're not necessarily going to listen to David or Simon if we speak to an adult, but they will listen to little Johnny when he comes in and says, "Daddy, stop using plastic." So that's how we're going to create behavior change, and that's why this is such an exciting movement, because the really tangible deliverable is this awareness and education rollout that we're doing, and it's going to really create a big difference, and it's going to happen in a large way, in a very widespread. It's going to spread across the whole Coral Triangle very quickly. So it's an exciting rollout. The fifth and final day is back to celebrating scuba, marine activities, and ending with a very exciting day of activity, really, and it's just celebrating ocean. So it's a big day. It's a big day. It's a big 5-day week. We've got lots of panels. We've got some really big hard-hitting presenters. We've got Joe Ruxton. We've got Silver Earl hopefully coming in on live to launch the whole event, and we're going to be launching the celebrating Mission Blues Timor Leste from below hope spot, which is obviously is a really big splash as well. We have DEFRA, we have COCOA, Commonwealth Clean Oceans Alliance. So it's very it's a very widespread but very forward-thinking and positive event that essentially we see 2020 being a sort of pivotal transformational year before we kickstart the new decade, ocean decade with the UNESCO. And so it's an exciting time, and there's obviously it's been a very grim last few months with COVID, but this is essentially a reawakening and a very aspirational movement to kickstart a new sustainable way of living for us as we embrace this new world, this new normal. So it's an exciting time, very exciting.
Yeah, well, that's an impressive lineup, and it can't come at a better time. I mean, we're seeing with this COVID crisis a huge impact in a short time on human health. But in the past few decades, we've seen a huge impact that's more or less unseen on ocean health, including sharks. And if you think about a COVID of the ocean, we're it. 90% of many species have declined. If you thought about 90% of people on the planet disappearing, you know people would really be upset and excited and working hard. So hopefully this recent epidemic, which is nothing to be made light of, will wake us up that we need to integrate into the entire health of the ocean, humans as well as wildlife, as well as the plankton and the water. I mean, working on plastics is so critical, and that's one thing that we say when we're working with kids. It's like, what can you do to protect a shark or a whale or a sea turtle if you live in Colorado or in the middle of China or in the Himalaya, as far from the ocean as you can get, and you can stop plastic use and plastic from going downstream into the waterways and finding its way all the way into the food chain and full circle back into humans. Around 10 million tons of plastics enter the oceans every year, and they're not declining. So using it and incentivizing people, that's a really great solution, because people work in their own best interest if they can make some money, and if you can turn it into a biofuel, or not biofuel, an actual petrochemical fuel, we can stop pulling it out of the ground and hopefully polluting less. So good on you, Simon. That's a pretty big vision, I have to say.
Yeah.
I want to show a few slides, because I want to ask you next about why Timor Leste. You've been in Sabah for 25 years, and you've moved around the Coral Triangle, obviously with your film production work with Scuba Zoo and some of the work you've done with Blue Planet and the BBC. But at heart, you're a conservationist as well as a storyteller. I think people can tell. So, you know, why are you going from your home in Sabah down to this little island nation of Timor Leste?
Well, I think that it's very, it's so frontier, and it really is the smallest, the newest, and the poorest country of the 6 countries in the Coral Triangle. So it's sort of ground zero, and Timor Leste's history the last 20 years, it's really had a tough time. It's so biodiverse, and it's not just the marine biodiversity, it's the cultural biodiversity. The people, they're just incredible. It's a very, it's so hospitable. The people are just so friendly. The majority of them are Catholic, and so it's almost like a sort of, it's a very Latino feel in Asia, which is very unique. Incredible food, and it's just like nowhere else on the planet. And the fact that it has this marine biodiversity, you know, just outside Dili, you have 20 kilometers out, you have Atauro Island, and there are more fish species on that location than anywhere else on the planet. So it really is an amazing location, and I think that it's a microcosm. The fact that they still have such incredible biodiversity, hundreds of blue whales, 23 different species of cetacean, sperm whales, pilot whales, melon-headed whales, Risso's dolphins, all sorts, so close by or swimming past different times of the year, really make it an amazing hope spot. It's a perfect, it fits the brief for Mission Blue perfectly, and it's an inspiration, and it's something that the world needs to support and protect. And if we can support Timor Leste, it's at the same time we need to be getting other places where they've destroyed or used up and essentially wasted away the resources. You know, nature can recover if we give it time, and that's the most important thing. So I think the reason why Timor Leste, because it still has so much there to save. It has so much, and it's a great showcase to show the world what we all had previously, what we've lost, but Timor Leste has more than anywhere else. So it's a great place to start. And I think the other thing is that they really have no other resources. So mainly been oil and gas. And so it's such a it really is all about finding alternative livelihoods. So ecotourism is one, plastic, circular economy is another one, and it's very important to create alternative livelihoods. The biggest problem on the planet now is these pockets of biodiversity. The people who are living in them, they don't have fridges to go to. They have families of 7, 8, 10, 15 kids, and they cannot feed them. So until we can find a mechanism by which that biodiversity is worth more to them alive than dead, I'm afraid the reality is the biodiversity gets taken out in the form of shark finning, turtles. And so we really need to work hard to make that biodiversity through ecotourism go back into the community and the stakeholders and create alternative livelihoods. Until we do that, I'm afraid that the biodiversity is just going to suffer. And so it is a time that Blue Hope is essentially kickstarting this new harmonious relationship with nature and biodiversity, and Timor Leste is the best place to start because it's got more biodiversity than anywhere else.
And here's one of the dive resort operators on Atuaro Island, Atuaro Dive Resort that I stayed at. I was their guest diving, and actually I dove this marine protected area right outside. You can just kick in from the water. Haruina is like one of the most amazing reef systems I've ever seen, and I've been diving for 45 years. And only a few places in the Philippines and Indonesia have I seen so much life, but also so much biodiversity. And this was the reef that Conservation International, Mark Erdman, and actually the late Jack Randall described over 400 species on this reef alone. So there are at least 600 species of reef fish, as many species of coral in this area, more than the Great Barrier Reef. It also has a system of marine protected areas. Some are local marine managed, but some are more formalized on this island that's adjacent to the Wetar Strait, which is between the big island of Timor Leste, which would be down at the bottom right. And this deep water pelagic channel has migratory whales, sea turtles, sharks. It's just an extraordinary area. When I went there, I was invited with USAID, with you, and the Association of Tourism Management to launch this new initiative to support tourism, as you said, alternative livelihoods to protect this reef as opposed to extraction. And I know a lot of people that I know are excited to go diving there. We met incredible operators that were really excited to get the infrastructure, the support, the mechanisms for ecotourism to bring people in to protect these large schools of fish, these incredibly beautiful invertebrates and reefs, 100% coral cover. There are homestays. I had to hike over with my freediving gear because I couldn't scuba. I couldn't get over the mountain to stay with Mario, who is one of the stakeholders in the ATM, really active local person who also has opened up his home, and you can dive right out in front. You pay just a few dollar fee each time you dive. That goes to supporting, and you stay in these bungalows to keep from extracting the reef. And I dove inside and outside the reef, and there is a marked difference in the number of marketable fish or consumable fish inside the protected area relative to outside. So it's an exciting spot. The Coral Triangle has more species, 75% of all coral, 25% of all species globally are in the Coral Triangle. This area, that's about half the size of the United States. 2,000 species of reef fish. This is 1/3 of the entire total. And the diversity of coral is just extraordinary. And as you said, the risks are high, from overfishing, from shark finning, from killing manta rays for their gill rakers, from ocean acidification, all of these impacts. So that's why we want to engage the youth with Blue Hope and this great program you've got, and regenerate and reduce plastic, increase human health by increasing ocean health. So you can have a system like this that's going to keep paying the dollars, because sharks are worth far more alive to a local economy than they are dead. So it's great hope to have this Hope Spot with Dr. Earl, and to help these young men here. Instead of fishing, they're learning how to dive. This is this young man's first scuba dive. We taught him how to. Now he's a boat operator, and very poor but hard worker. Loves the ocean, and who knows, we'll have a whole new generation of scuba masters and instructors and boat operators and whale watchers to keep their economy strong and the beauty of this ecosystem alive. So nice job. Thanks for introducing me to Timor Leste. I'm excited to rejoin this year in November with the expedition with Dr. Earl and celebrate this Hope Spot with Jose Ramos Horte and the ATM and all the great operators that we met last year. So what's next?
What's next? Well, we've got to find a boat, haven't we? We've got to find a boat, and hopefully we can get into Timor Leste. I mean, the incredible thing about the place is that a third of the country doesn't have access to clean drinking water. So, you know, it's when it comes to COVID, if COVID was to get in there, I mean, hand washing, forget hand washing, that doesn't exist. So luckily, touch wood, they've had no deaths and they've had only just a few cases. So they've very much battened down the hatches, and you can't go to Timor Leste. And I imagine that'll be the case for a few more months now. So we might have to go in by boat, and the quarantine that we'll be doing will be on the boat, and we'll stay on the boat. So it's you know, it's an interesting time watching the world try and kickstart its engine again and get things going. But meanwhile, there's businesses that close down all over the place, and it's very hard. It's hard to get the economy going again, and synchronizing the economy. That's what's scary. Is, you know, I think the days of being able to jump on planes and go to other countries very easily are long gone, or certainly going to be a long time before we can do that. So it's a very testing time, obviously, and for Timor Leste and countries where you still have that biodiversity, the reality is that a lot of people can't put food on their table now, and so the biodiversity is just under even more pressure. So we really need to get on it, get a new movement. Blue Hope is the movement, and it's an exciting time, and we've got to really get people excited and aspirational stories, good news stories, and bring value back into their lives through the ecosystem. So there's lots to do. It needs a synchronized approach, and there's many things that need to happen, but there's certainly a lot of great people working together on this, and it's very exciting.
Well, I guess what's next is the power of the many. And there are so many people who are especially interested now and willing to get outside after being locked indoors for weeks or having to work through necessity and put themselves at risk. And getting in the ocean and celebrating the ocean is about the best thing we can do. They can go to bluehope.org, not .com, bluehope.org. Follow you for World Oceans Day and World Oceans Week. Encourage people to dive in and save a shark. And of course, what's really important also is funding these opportunities. So we're looking for a donor for a boat, for equipment. We're selling t-shirts, no shipping now during World Oceans Day, just to try to bring in money. We have a matching donor. Hopefully that will get a plane ticket for me to come down to Timor Leste and continue to support this conservation work. So we have our work cut out for us, obviously, but we're working hard. And we've got a lot of great young people who are passionate and want to join us. So go to bluehope.org. Follow us next week. Listen to the Hope Spot from the word of the Oracle, Dr. Sylvia Earle, and other great luminaries next week, and learn more about what you can do to dive in with us in Timor-Leste or Borneo. Go on an expedition. We're building some great partnerships, and I'll be writing for National Geographic, actually. I just got my column reinstated, and the first one will be on the Hope Spot next week at Timor-Leste. So thanks, Simon Christopher, for joining us and the work you're doing. This has been a really great program. It'll be on YouTube. You can share it. And Shark Stewards is the YouTube channel, or our website, sharkstewards.org. Watch for me. What day? Coral Triangle Day, is it? Talking about sharks?
Thanks, David. Looking forward to getting out there again soon. Can't wait to get you back over here and bringing Timor Leste and the Coral Triangle to the world. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. You stay well, and we'll be in the water before we know it. There's one thing I want to remind people of. We are an activist organization, and 3 years ago, when this administration came into power, they threatened to strip our marine national monuments of their protected status. That kind of went quiet for a few years, and it's now been reinstated. This administration wants to turn over the world's largest marine protected areas outside of Antarctica to fishing interests. So we're actually ready to go to court to sue the Secretary of the Interior. This is in violation of the Antiquities Act. You can go to our site or this petition site, add your voice, tell your senator, tell your representative, write the president, say, we need a healthy ocean, especially now, to have healthy humans, because a healthy ocean will help us fight these external assaults like viruses and other diseases. So, obrigado. Thanks to Timor Blue and USAID and the ATM and all of the people of Timor-Leste who work so hard and are still working hard. And we're going to help them work hard to continue their economic and ecological viability in Timor-Leste. So thanks everyone for listening. Thanks to my sponsors, especially Patagonia, who just donated a new wetsuit so I could go free diving. Because we're getting back in the water doing a shark survey out of California. And I'm out of the city after almost 3 months of sheltering in place. So now in Southern California, I could show you the view, but we're going to start diving again and documenting sharks here off our coastline while we're waiting to travel overseas to Asia. So thanks for listening. Thanks for joining us. And we'll see you in a week on our Ocean Action Series. Bye, Simon. Get some sleep.
Take care, David. See you soon.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me. See you soon. Bye.